You know what? Let's have some fun. Let's all work together to actually think of a legitimate moveset for Bread right here, right now. If we can make a full legitimate moveset that I actually like, I will make a video on it.
And guess what? They did it. I am Bread, an odd living loaf of bread with only one goal: to have each of its slices become the tastiest, most perfect pieces of toast in the world. And that's really about it. It does drive a man crazy in the process, but what you gonna do? Today's moveset is a special one, as I didn't really make this moveset. Bread's moveset was a community-made one. So if you don't like it, don't blame me, blame these guys. I'm kidding, of course. While I was originally against the idea of making a moveset for a slice of bread, these guys were able to get me on board with the idea. They made the moveset. All I really did was help them theme it together and make a few changes based on better judgment, but not really a whole lot. This moveset is fully a community-made one. Now, before I continue, please let me go ahead and stress something. Just because I'm doing a community-made moveset now, that doesn't mean you guys can use this as an excuse to try to get me to cover your own movesets. This is a once-in-a-blue-moon exception. I generally prefer to make my own movesets based on my own opinions and research, with the only help that I get being from close friends to bounce ideas off of. I love looking at everyone else's ideas after I've already shared my own, but that's it. Today's Bread will be the one exception. Anyways, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get right into this moveset. Bread overall will be a very light character, for obvious reasons. It'll have 2 jumps, and it will have the ability to both wall jump and wall cling. Now before we get into the attacks, I'm actually going to go ahead and get the Bread's gimmick out of the way first. So as I said prior, in I Am Bread, the sole goal of the bread is to become a yummy, perfectly toasted snack that anyone would love to enjoy. But the only way it's able to achieve that is by keeping itself edible. As a lone slice of bread, it has to travel across whatever room or environment that it's in to find its way to a source of heat to toast itself. But there are many obstacles in its path that could very easily turn the poor bread slice disgusting. I mean, personally, if any food isn't at 100% edibility or even touches something that I wouldn't want in my mouth, then I'm not eating it. But ignoring my own tastes, the edibility meter for bread will be translated into Smash as its main gimmick. Bread will always start with 100% edibility with each new stock, and the edibility percent will slowly decrease whenever it touches any part of the stage. If it touches a solid part of the stage, whether that be a floor, wall, or ceiling, it'll lose 2% of edibility a second, and if it's on a platform of the stage, it'll only lose 1% of edibility a second. Bread also hates water, as it will not only take damage from swimming, but it'll also lose 5% of edibility a second while in water. Nobody likes soggy bread after all. Now what's the point of edibility? Well, the scaling of edibility for bread actually ratios to the amount of damage that bread will take from all attacks. At 100% edibility, bread will actually take 80% reduced damage from all attacks. But the more edibility bread loses, the more damage attacks dealt to bread will deal, to the point where if bread is brought down to the nasty 0% edibility, it'll start taking an 80% damage increase from all attacks. It's also slowly dealt 0.5% of damage a second when it reaches 0% edibility. So overall, it takes normal damage from attacks at around 50% edibility. Something I should stress is that the edibility only affects the amount of damage bread takes. It won't affect the amount of knockback that can be dealt to it. But regardless, the biggest point of contention for bread is fairly obvious. Keep yourself edible. And how do you do that? Well, its entire moveset is actually made with the intention of keeping itself tasty, between a good chunk of its attacks and also some other small details as well. For starters, it will not lose edibility during the invulnerable time frame that a character has after respawning. It'll also have a 3-second grace period at the start of matches before becoming vulnerable to losing edibility. And the last thing before I start getting into attacks, Shielding will actually keep it safe from losing edibility as well, as when it shields, it'll actually retreat into the clean safety of a cooking pot. However, if the shield breaks, not only is that dangerous for obvious reasons, but it'll also automatically cause the bread to lose 10% of edibility upon the pot shattering. And that's on top of however much edibility you lose from being forced to stand on the ground while stunned, assuming your opponent doesn't just turn you into a pile of breadcrumbs in the process, that is. Bread will have a 3-hit jab that starts with it swinging each of its upper corners forwards one at a time for the first 2 hits, and then do a body flop onto the ground forwards for the 3rd hit. Its dash attack can have it lunge into the air forwards for a flying tackle, then land on the ground and get back up during the end lag of the move. The side tilt can have it do a quick somersault, striking with its 2 bottom corners as it does so. This move will slightly move bread forwards upon its execution. The up tilt could just be a floppy backwards to forwards headbutt, and the down tilt can have bread slide forwards while flat on the ground, using butter to make its underside slippery so it can slide. This down tilt actually will be unique in that if it's used close enough towards the edge of a stage or platform, bread will actually slide off. This could allow for some neat follow-ups, but you also need to be cautious. After all, you don't want to accidentally fall into the nasty blast zone below, where no 5-second rule will be able to save you. Now for the bread side smash, this will be a projectile type of smash that has the bread spawn an object that rolls forwards a fair distance to hit foes with. What object it rolls depends on how long you charge the smash for. The weakest object that will appear with little to no charge will be a roll of toilet paper. If you charge it for a little longer, then it becomes a soccer ball, which of course deals more damage than the toilet paper, but when close to or is fully charged, it rolls a bowling ball, which can deal major damage, but not only that, if the bowling ball hits a foe who is standing on the ground, it'll actually bury them. Despite these objects normally all being different sizes in real life, for this smash attack, they'll all be the same size, and their speed and distance rolled will all be the same, only their damage output changes between them. But there is one downside to this smash attack. Using it causes bread to automatically lose some edibility based on which item you rolled. 5% for the toilet paper, 3% for the soccer ball, and 1% for the bowling ball, so you'd best be careful not to spam the side smash too much. The up smash can just be a simple, quick jumping headbutt, one that slightly shifts bread's hurt box upwards when used. The down smash can have a plate appear underneath bread, then have it do a quick jumping belly flop onto it, smashing the plate and sending its shards outwards. Bread's body has the major hitbox of this move, but it doesn't actually go outwards that far. The shards made from the smashed plate can launch foes a little bit, but they don't actually deal that much damage. That said, the plate will appear as soon as bread starts charging up this smash, and it will be standing on the plate as it charges. So as such, bread will actually not lose any edibility while it charges the down smash. However, as soon as the down smash is executed, bread will automatically lose 3% of edibility. After all, no one likes plate shards stuck in their bread. Now for bread's aerial attacks, all of these except for its down air will have a unique property. For only the first time that any of the aerials are used after each jump, they'll actually slow bread's falling momentum, allowing it to stay off the ground for a little longer. So for its neutral aerial, it can be just like Kirby's, spinning its whole body in circles while it faces the screen. Its body becomes a hitbox, and it'll automatically launch any foe who makes contact with it. For its forward air, it can do a quick front flip, striking forwards with the top of its body. The back air can have it quickly lean backwards, striking with the top of its body again, except now towards the back. The up air can have bread do a back flip, striking upwards with the bottom part of its body. And for its down air, this will have bread do a quick outstretched stomp with the bottom part of its body. Now while this aerial won't slow bread's falling descent like the other aerials do, it can do something else. If you can land a hit with the down air, it will actually send bread higher into the air as it bounces off the foe. So it can be used as a recovery method on top of just keeping bread off the ground in general. And of course, this down air is capable of spiking if it sweet spots. To grab a foe, bread will simply stick its 2 top corners to them. Now I should mention as well that bread will actually lose 3% of edibility a second whenever it grabs a foe's filthy, sweaty body. So if you grab, do not hold on to them for too long. It pummels by slapping the foe with one of its top corners. And for the throws, all of these throws actually will have a common theme. The throws themselves will be pretty lackluster, not dealing a whole lot of knockback and damage, but they also will actually end up with the bread in the air, which not only makes for a quick way to get off the ground while also keeping the momentum of the match going, but it can also allow for some neat follow-up attacks or even to retreat if need be. So for its forward throw, it'll just kick the foe forwards with its bottom, sending the foe forwards while also propelling itself backwards. The back throw can have the bread flip over the foe, then jump off the back of their head, sending them backwards while also propelling itself forwards. For the up throw, the bread quickly jumps with the foe in hand, and when it does, a toaster appears underneath them, leading to the bread and the foe to land in the toaster, which then shoots them both high into the air. Though the foe will fly much higher depending on their damage, whereas bread will only be sent a set distance. And the down throw will have bread simply jump off the foe's head and into the air. This throw deals its damage, but doesn't launch them anywhere. It'll just cause them to fall down to the floor. For the bread's neutral special, it can do the one thing that bread can do best: grip. Holding down the special button will put bread into a state where it'll grip onto anything that it's able to hold onto. The big thing that this gripping does is effectively gives bread heavy armor. While it can still be damaged, it cannot be moved off of whatever it is that it's gripping onto, with only a few exceptions. Bread will have a gripping meter, just like it does in its own game, and can only keep gripping until the meter fully runs out, which actually varies based on its edibility. It can grip for a full 7 seconds at 100% edibility, but only 3 seconds at 0% edibility. The meter will recharge pretty quickly, but letting it run out will put bread into a short stun state as it needs to recover from overexerting itself. Now in terms of things that it can grip to, firstly, it can stick to the stage itself. It's able to stick itself onto any surface of the stage by holding towards the direction of what it is you're trying to stick to after already holding the special button down. And while it sticks, you can mash the control stick into a direction to have bread flip into that direction while sticking. This can allow bread to effectively climb walls, ceilings, or even underneath a platform if you so wish. It also helps that you're flat on the ground. This allows bread to be able to avoid most grabs unless it's flipping over to move. But remember, you'll still lose edibility based on whatever it is you're clinging to, so you could effectively use this strat to avoid being launched at the cost of some edibility. Next up, you can grip onto other players, whether friend or foe. You'll do this automatically by holding down the special button right next to another player. Thing is, doing this isn't exactly a grab. You'll actually just hang off of the character, and all this does is slightly slow their movement speed, and they are able to shake off bread by attacking it enough, so it's like trying to get a Pikmin off of you. However, just to make things more humorous, bread could actually be passed to other players by passing them, just like you would a Gooey Bomb or Mega Man's Crash Bombs. It is able to do this to interactable assist trophies as well, but just like for the grabs, bread will lose 3% of edibility a second for as long as it's latched to a character. And the last thing that bread is able to stick to is any solid item or projectile. If it passes by a small item while gripping on the ground, the item will actually stick to bread as well, but it will just drop it as soon as it stops gripping and will need to pick it up normally to actually be able to use it. It can also intercept items or projectiles that are not energy-based that are shot or thrown by gripping onto them. However, doing this won't actually stop said item or projectile from its trajectory. Instead, bread will just stick to it and keep flying along with it. This will prevent bread from taking damage from the thing he gripped onto unless it explodes at the end. So you can just do this to get some distance if need be, or even use whatever it is you gripped onto to stay off the ground for a little while if you need to. And doing this overall costs no edibility. In the end, this special can lead to a lot of interesting and hilarious scenarios to mess everybody up. For Bread's side special, it can become Rocket Bread from the 0G mode of I Am Bread. This is a simple attack that sends bread straight forwards while rapidly spinning a fair distance for a horizontal attack. The special does keep bread off the ground, so it won't lose any edibility while using this move. It deals flinching damage to opponents, and has a chance to trip them if they were standing on the ground. And of course, this move can be used for horizontal recovery, and it will put bread into freefall after using it. For bread's up special, a toaster can spawn around it and shoot the bread high into the air. It's great for vertical recovery, and bread's body does become a hitbox after being shot out. You can slightly change the trajectory shot left or right, and this move will put bread into freefall after using it. This could also be a charge up special, where the longer you hold the special button down, the longer bread will stay in the toaster, and the farther it'll be shot into the air and the more damage it'll deal upon releasing the button. Now there's also some interesting details about this attack. For one thing, while bread's in the toaster, it won't lose any edibility if the move is used on the ground, so this can be used as another means to slow down your edibility loss. However, it's not the safest way to do so, as if you choose to charge the attack for longer than 3 seconds, the bread will start getting burnt inside the toaster and will begin to lose edibility rapidly that way, losing 8% of edibility for each additional second it remains in the toaster. The toaster also will have some super armor on it, so it can tank some weaker attacks without the up special being interrupted, but the stronger attacks will knock bread out of it. And how does bread not become toast after being in a toaster? It just kinda does. Don't think about it too much. Anyways, finally, for bread's down special, it could use the popular condiment that most everybody loves to put on their bread: jam. Upon activation, a jar of jam will spawn next to bread, which then bread will immediately break open. Breaking the jar of jam causes some glass shards to fly out, which will deal some small damage to foes too close to their range, but that's not the real reason why you want to use this special. Breaking the jar will leave a puddle of jam on the ground in the spot where bread broke it. The puddle will remain there indefinitely, but only one puddle can be on the ground at a time. If bread uses the down special again, the previous puddle will just disappear. The puddle will also automatically disappear if bread is ever KO'd. Now this puddle, of course, can do a few things. 1, bread will not lose any edibility while standing in the puddle, so this can be a spot of safety for bread. 2, bread itself will actually be covered in the jam upon using the down special for 15 seconds, and only needs to either use the down special again or step in the existing puddle to reapply the jam coat. While covered in jam, bread's grab and grip special attack will be able to last for 1.5 times longer than normal thanks to bread being stickier. And bread also will not lose any edibility from touching foes with the grab or the grip. However, thanks to its body being stickier, the amount of edibility that bread loses from everything else is now doubled. This is definitely a risk and reward type of state to be in. Now for the final thing that the puddle can do, any foe who steps in the jam puddle will move a little slower in general, but only when they're standing in it. They return to normal the moment they're no longer standing in the puddle. And to make for a fun final detail, the color of the jam actually changes depending on your current player color. So player 1 gets strawberry jam, player 2 gets blueberry, player 3 gets lemon, and so on. You get the idea. For the bread's final smash, it can have a cinematic final smash that begins with the bread lunging forwards, and anybody hit by it will be pulled in. The smash then plays out with the caught foes randomly ending up at a gas station, landing at a puddle of leaking gasoline next to a propane tank. Then here are 2 ideas to what happens next. One idea shows bread throwing a lit lighter, the other can show bread turning on a broken light above, which then emits sparks that fall down. Regardless of which, the result ends up the same. It shows the gas station exploding in the distance, annihilating all of the caught foes, and then the bread just falls into the camera's view, perfectly toasted. Now on top of dealing big damage to opponents, this final smash actually will return bread to a full 100% edibility. Well, technically, you'd actually be controlling a new slice of bread off of the loaf, since the one that used the final smash is now fully toasted, but whatever, it's still hilarious. For colors, bread's default will show them as the main bread type in the game, wholemeal bread. Its first alternate color can make it white bread, which would of course make it pure white. Then we can have some rye bread, but to make it stand out a little more, why don't we marble it, making it both a dark brown and white color swirl. The next can make the bread a pure dark brown, turning it into pumpernickel bread. Then we can make bread yellow with some green parsley flakes, turning it into the most superior of all breads, garlic bread. And next can be the bread that I actually dislike the most, raisin bread. It would be a lighter yellow with dark purple raisins in it. Next can be another fruity bread, raspberry bread. It'd be slightly darker and would have some bright red spots. And for the final color, this can go back to the wholemeal bread, but now it has I am bread written into its body. And as an honorable mention that I know the community wanted to use, there could also be the nasty tumor bread, in reference to Team Fortress 2. And this is appropriate since there is actually a Team Fortress 2 level made for I Am Bread. For the stage intro, it starts with just a loaf of bread sitting on the stage before a slice of it falls off and gets up, leading to the loaf to disappear. This of course references how levels begin in I Am Bread. But here can be a little interesting detail that I think would be pretty cool. Whenever Bread respawns after suffering a KO, it'll show the loaf of bread on the respawn platform with a new slice falling off as it respawns. This references the idea that whenever you lose a stock, you lose that slice of bread and need to cut off a new slice from the loaf to continue. Anyways, for taunts, the first can show the bread randomly split in half and fall over, but then form itself back together as it gets back up. The next can have it just fall over and flip-flop on the floor like a fish. And the final can have it do a little spinning dance, which can be in reference to what most people look like when they're trying to regain their balance in I Am Bread. And trust me, you'll see that happen a lot. And finally, for victory animations, the first can show Bread zooming around in 0G mode before posing. It'll also be fully toasted. Its second can first just show a toaster until the bread pops out of its top and just sits there as perfectly made toast. And the final can show the bread randomly rolling on a skateboard while fully toasted. It then holds up a piece of paper that says A++, referencing when you get a perfect score in a level of I Am Bread. And why the skateboard? 'Cause it's cool, I guess? I don't know. But anyways, that does it for What If I Am Bread was in Smash. And I just have to say, thank you all. I'm glad that I made that deal with you guys to give Bread a Smash moveset. This was a lot of fun, and this just emphasizes not only how much I love making these kinds of movesets, but also how much I love seeing what everybody else can come up with. Think of this moveset as a type of celebration, not only for the 1-year anniversary of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but also for the 1-year anniversary of my What If series as a whole. It honestly blows my mind that after a year, not only am I still having so much fun doing this, but to have gotten so much support from so many people who just want to see me keep going. I don't know how I can show how appreciative I am of that. But regardless, everybody, thank you so much. Anyways, sappiness aside, if you liked what you saw and would like to see even more characters be given possible Smash movesets, be sure to subscribe. And if you'd like to support the show and help me be able to make more content for you guys while you also get some perks for doing so, you can click the join button either below my video or on my main page to become a sponsor for my channel. I'd really appreciate anything that can be contributed. And of course, if you have a character that you'd like to see me given a possible Smash moveset, leave a comment down below or contact me on Twitter at BrawlFan1 on Twit. I hope you all enjoyed, thank you so much for watching, and here's to many more years to come.